Welcome, coaches. I hope you're having a great night tonight. Hope everything's okay. I'm here with the great Adam Bishop. Coach Bishop is an eight-man football legend in the making. He has won a crap ton of games, and we were talking off air. I wanted to get in touch with you for a while, but I couldn't find you, so I put it out into the Twitterverse, and you just got onto Twitter, so that's why no one could tag you. But then, like 3 days later, you emailed me out of the blue, and we set this up, and I was like, "This is fate." Coach Bishop, tell everybody what's your history, what's your background.
Oh man, I've been at Regent Prep for 9 years. We started the football program there. Before that, I was in Arkansas. That's where I was born. I was there for 30 years and grew up there, born and raised around El Dorado, a little town called Norfolk. Shout out to the Norfolk people that are watching. I know you're watching. Um, I went to high school there. Started my coaching career in the Arkansas River Delta in a little school called Star City. I was there for a year. Then I started a football program on the west side of El Dorado at Parker's Chapel High School with some other great coaches. And I was there for 7 years. And my wife and I had our first son when we lived there. We wanted to look into exploring just different types of curriculum and education options. My parents were both teachers, and I was a teacher. I am a teacher. I have an older brother that's a teacher. And we found this, it's called classical Christian education. And so we quit our job at a great school. Parker's Chapel High School in Arkansas is a great high school, but we quit that job to try to start a school in South Arkansas. And the school didn't work out there, but I met some people in that classical arena. And Regent was the only classical school in the country advertising for a football coach. And 9 years later, here we are. We started out 11-man co-op at Regent for the first 4 years. And the past 5 years, we've been 8-man on our own, not co-oping, and it's worked out for the best.
What I've never heard of it. What's an 11-man co-op?
We were not in the Oklahoma Secondary Schools Activities Association. So what we did is we took small schools in Tulsa that didn't have football teams and brought them together, played an independent schedule. We weren't eligible for any kind of playoffs, but what it did, it gave guys around Tulsa that went to small schools that didn't have any football program a chance to play high school football.
Okay. Now, off air, also, you said that when you started out, you were an 8-man football team with 10 kids.
Yes.
How did that work?
Well, we were blessed. I'll tell you about those 10 kids. We'd go through the whole roster. It wouldn't take long, but when we were 11-man co-op the first 4 years at Regent, we would have 25 to 30 kids, but it took us 4 schools to get that many. Well, when we joined the state association, none of those schools were in the state association, so we couldn't co-op with them any longer. So we were on our own all of a sudden. And the first year, we had 10 Regent kids. The year before, we had maybe 8 kids from Regent and 8 kids from another school and 8 kids from another school to put a team together. Well, when we went to 8-man, our school size put us in 8-man, thankfully. And we could only get 10 kids out the first year. It's not a traditional, powerhouse or anything like that. These kids are first generation football players. Now, I will tell you, from those 10, 2 ended up playing college football at the NAIA level. I believe they were both scholarship football players. One ended up playing college basketball on a scholarship. Another ended up playing college baseball, and a 5th ended up being Air Force and getting an appointment to the Air Force Academy. So,
wow. So that's
we had
actually having
players.
20 kids on it.
We did. We had some special players in those 10.
I've got to ask, when you were doing that, how did practice look? Because I mean, it's a 5-on-5 right there, man.
Yeah, it was short practices. No rule says you have to go 2 hours, and we didn't. And we would line up. We had a kind of a progression where we would line up. We would put barrels out for the other team's offense, and we would line up our guys against the barrels. And then we would kind of do an inside drill with 3 linemen, because in 8-man, you have 3 linemen instead of 5. So we would have our 3 linemen, a running back, and a quarterback going against our 3-man defense with a 2 linebacker look. So we could do some 5-on-5 that way, but still when we got lined up and went live, we didn't want to go too live because we didn't have any room to spare on the injuries. We did practice formations with 7 guys on offense and defense, and a couple of plays in the season we had to, but we were very fortunate on the injury front that year and never had to forfeit a game. And actually, I got our record over. We were 4-3 that first year.
Nice, man.
So we had a winning record with 10 players, and it's been uphill, for since that, and it's been great.
Did any of your coaches have to practice? Because I
No.
know because at basketball, when you get 10 on 10 and someone tweaks an ankle or something like that, and you got to play 5 on 5, you got to throw a coach out. The most athletic coach goes out there and plays. Did y'all have to do that as well?
Yeah, we would put coaches out there with the shields or whatever, and we would have to do that sometimes. And I was trying to be the scout team quarterback, and that's probably why we had those 3 losses, because I wasn't a very good scout team quarterback. But that's really helped us here the last couple of years when we have plenty of players, and our scout team can give our first team a good look, and it just makes everything kind of slow down on Friday night. So that's been a big help. And now, kids want to play for us. I think I think it's just it's a family deal. We call it our football family. So it's great.
Yeah. And you got them right there behind you in the background picture. So I like it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've got some people in the chat first. Coach Locked In Films. I love YouTube because you don't have your name. You just have the things. How you doing, Coach Wheeler? Glad to see more 8-man stuff. Coach Flynn, how you doing from Georgia? Barbara Bishop, hi, Coach Bishop, from your mom.
Yeah, that's my mom. I told you Northwood, Arkansas is watching.
I like it. Okay, starting out, like I'm slowly wrapping my head around 8-man football.
Yes.
But how do you come up with the plays? That's the one thing I have a problem with. Like, I kind of understand on defense because it's just like a matchup from what I've seen, but offensively, I don't know how you come up with plays, especially when you're studying college and NFL and they're 11 on 11. How do you modify that to produce a productive offense like you've had the past 5 years?
Yeah, we've been very productive. Well, I told you, Coach, off the air, I'll tell anything. And so this this may get us beat this year, but I'll tell you, we throw it around a lot. I mean, we are a passing team. I was in a passing offense in the late 90s where I went to high school. My coach was one of the first in our area to do a 1-back, and that was 11-man. And I coached, like I said, in Arkansas, 11-man, came to Oklahoma coaching 11. And then when we moved to 8-man by enrollment, I was talking to the guy that was our athletic director at the time, and I said, I think we're just going to keep running our offense. So we run an 11-man spread, a lot of 4 and 5 wide. We're going to take out the 2 tackles, and we're going to take out 1 slot receiver. And it's really worked out for us. One thing, Coach, and I just kind of want to draw a difference in 11 and 8-man since you were bringing that up. There's really not a pocket in 8-man football for a passer.
Okay.
The quarterback has to be able to move and throw on the run. And our quarterbacks have been great at that. We've had a great, quarterback coach. We have multiple guys that, getting coached. We start our program early, and, we start coaching them up when they're in elementary school. And I start coaching them myself in the 6th grade.
Okay.
And we don't teach staying in the pocket. I remember it was our second 8-man quarterback we had. His dad was asking me about staying in the pocket. And I said, there's really not a pocket. So we don't teach anything about the pocket. We don't do that. And then the next big thing, besides there's not going to be a pocket, is there may not be a check down receiver in 8-man football. In 11-man, you run 4 guys on a route. You got a back checking down. In 8-man, you run 4 guys on a route. There's probably not going to be a check down. So the check down is the quarterback run. And that's what we use. So what we do, and I think that's how I found you online, Coach, was there's some air raid stuff. And that's where what we do, and I've sent it out all over the country here lately, but we've just modified the 8-man, the air raid playbook to 8-man football. We've taken out 1 receiver, usually that short route check down receiver, and we just play. We take out the tackles, take out the check down guy, and run with it. And it has really worked for us.
I love it. The pass. I don't know why more people don't use it.
I don't either. When you think about it, you lose 3 defenders from 11 to 8-man. You only lose 1 eligible receiver. That is a huge advantage for the offense, we think. And when we first started, I remember the defensive coordinator that I had then, and he's still with me now. And we said, we can't believe more people aren't throwing the ball around. But it is a run heavy game in the state of Oklahoma, I know. And I think around the country, it's a run heavy game. And, you know, that's fine. If you have the people to knock people off the ball, do that.
So have you noticed that since you've gone, you zigged where everybody else is zagging, running the ball? Our defense is struggling, obviously, to stop you because one, it's 8-man football. So, the rules kind of change a little bit, but two, they're not used to seeing a pass, and especially a passing attack like yours.
Yeah, you can't hide in an 8-man defense. It's like basketball. You can't hide somebody out there. And maybe, at the highest levels of 11-man you can't, but I know there's some times in 11-man where you can maybe hide somebody defensively and you got somebody to cover for them or whatever. You can't hide them in 8-man. And that's why we do what we do is we want all eight. I mean, we want to make sure all 8 defenders are sound, and we will go at them. If there's a guy that we think we can beat in a matchup, we'll go at them a lot. And that's kind of our offensive philosophy.
I like it. So how does that tie into game planning? What do you do? Do y'all play on Friday nights?
Yes.
All right. So Sundays, what do you go into, and you break down the defense? What are you looking for?
I look for who's not tackling. If they've got somebody that hasn't made a tackle in 2 weeks, that's where the ball's going. And they will. And a lot of times it'll be their star offensive player. He's on the defensive side too, going both ways at a small school. And, he looks like $1,000,000 on offense, and on defense, not so much. So
Yeah,
that
like
way,
we're going after him.
yeah, they're going to wear him out on offense, giving him the ball, and we're going to wear him out on defense, going at him. And even, we have a plan. If that weakest player is a nose, on defense, we'll go at him and make him play all night. Or, defensive ends are usually the strongest players, to be honest, in 8-man. But it's pretty much our philosophy to spread those defensive backs out, make a linebacker come out in coverage, and make them play one-on-one. Our saying, and it's nothing groundbreaking, you've heard it a million times, the hardest thing to do in football is tackle in space.
Yep.
So that's what we want to make teams do.
I love it. Now we have a first question from Coach Wheeler. Hey, Coach, how did you go about promoting and building your program?
Yeah, the first thing I did was get to know the families. I didn't talk much about the football program. I just told them how glad I was to be at Regent. My wife and I have 3 boys of our own that go to Regent. It's a great education. It's a small school in a larger town, and that doesn't happen a lot. And, where we are, the larger towns have the larger schools and the smaller towns have the smaller schools. But we're a small school environment. Um, and so I just got to know the families first. And when the families trust you, they're okay with their kids playing for you, no matter how much negative comes out about football. And in our school, we have a lot of first generation players. I think I mentioned that earlier. We have a lot of first generation players whose, dad wasn't a player, uncles weren't a player, grandpa wasn't a player. And so they're kind of skeptical. But I've personally gone to some families and gotten to know them, and they know, that I'm not trying to climb any ladders or anything. I'm kind of here for my kids to be in the school, and that's really helped us. And like I said, we went from 5 years ago to we were hoping actually for low 20s this year, but now after our meeting we had on Monday, we're hoping for high 20s now. So
Nice.
we'll see.
So what obstacles or limitations have you found with first generation football players?
That first time that they have contact and the first time they get a bruise or a bump, it can be pretty traumatic. And I had one year that his the cuffs on his jersey were tight right in here, and he was getting bruises. And mom was like, if he can't get a different jersey, I'm gonna have to pull him off the team, because she had never seen that before. And so we just took some scissors to it and modified it, and he was fine, and she was fine. But yeah, she wasn't used to seeing her baby coming home with bruises on his arms, and so we talked her down a little bit, and she was good after that. But the kids are easy. They're a blank slate. They want to play. I don't force anybody to play. I don't really go out and ask the kids in our halls to play, because if they don't want to play, it's tough, because we're going to be the best conditioned team. That's one of our goals. We're not always the biggest and strongest team, but we're going to be in the best shape. And, I want them to enjoy it. but it's a blank slate for the kids. It's a little harder to win over the parents sometimes. But again, we tell the parents they're always invited to our practices. This is a way that we've grown, and I kind of pick on the parents sometimes if they're sitting up in the bleachers. I'll walk over to them and say, "Hey, you can't sit in the bleachers during practice." And they're like, "Well, you can't watch practice." No, you got to come down on the field with us. If you're going to be here, you got to come down on the field. And so we will. We'll have some parents standing around on the field, and it doesn't bother us at all. So
Nice. Help us out. We're down a man. Go ahead and jump into that drill right there.
yeah. Some of them would, and some of them would not do that. Like I said, most of the ones that didn't play they're just amazed that their son wants to play. And we talk about how it's going to give them, lifelong memories, and it has.
Yes.
Now we've been around long enough that some of the kids have graduated college that played for us, and it's really a high point to see them come back and stand on the sideline during a game, and it's really fun.
Okay. We've got another question. Coach Walford, you're welcome. I'm all about football. It doesn't matter how many men are on the field. I need to get some Canadian coaches in here next because I'm going 8. Then I want to go 12 or whatever they play with. He has a question about defense. What's your base defense, and how do you decide what to play defensively?
All right. So I will say we're different, not only on offense, but on defense. Probably 90% or more of the teams are going to play base out of a 3-2 with some type of cover 3 behind that. So you'll have end, nose, end, 2 linebackers, 2 corners, and a safety. We don't do that. Our philosophy, but this kind of flows from our offensive philosophy. If an 11-man, this was just something I brought from 11-man, and it may be popular, I don't know. But when there's 2 high safeties in 11-man, my philosophy was you got to be able to run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
8-man, we say if there's 1 high safety, you got to be able to run the ball. So we don't use a safety very often. We actually base out of an even front, usually a 4 front, unless you get out in something, empty and you've got 4 receivers. And then we may still bring 4 and play a 4-0. But we base out of a 4-2 and a 3-2. We can kind of go between depending on what you're doing. If you're putting 2 tight ends and an I formation, which a lot of teams do, we're going to look like a 4-4 stack. We're going to look like a 4-4 stack, 11-man team with no defensive backs on the field. And that's how we're going to play it. Our defensive philosophy is make you throw to beat us. That's our defensive philosophy. And, that's worked out more times than not. But we like to be a little different and put that 4th defensive lineman down there. And the reasoning for that is a couple of years ago, probably 3 years ago, we went, got our records over here beside me. We went 10-2. And the 2 games we lost, we just got physically dominated up front. We were trying to run a 3-man front or whatever. And so we said we were going to just put 2 guys at defensive tackle that may not be the biggest, may not be the strongest, but we're going to shoot those gaps and make those guards account for our defensive tackles. So that year I think we went more to a 4-1 a couple of years ago, and then a 4-2 if they were 2 backs in the backfield, things like that. So in that 4-1, we had a lot of success keeping guards from pulling, or if the guards did pull, we had a defensive tackle in his pocket. So the move to the forefront was more of a personnel situation for us. And then last year, this team you see behind me here, we had a really good nose guard, and we were able to run a lot more of the 3-man front. But number 1 for us is stopping the run. You're not going to see us sitting back in a deep zone. We're going to come play press man on your receivers and blitz your quarterback and run blitz, things like that, and make you throw it.
Okay. What? I had a question, but I just totally forgot because I just saw another question just come in. So I'm going to go ahead and ask that, and then I have it. How do you go about building depth with your young players on offense?
And we give them reps in games. We really do. We're always looking for that. Number 1, anytime the game gets out of hand either way, unfortunately for us, these last 3 years at least, it's gotten out of hand to our favor. And we pretty much have a 3-score rule. If we get up by 3 scores, we're emptying the bench. You see this team behind me. I think every one of those guys played in every game last year, and except maybe the state finals. That was a 5-point game. So they may not have all gotten in on the state finals, but the other 14 games, I think pretty much, 99, if not 100% of these guys got in every game. And we develop them, in practice. Our practices are serious business. I coach the scout team offense. Our assistant is the defensive coordinator, so he's got the defenses rolling, and we don't let them, monkey around or whatever on scout team. They're really running. We've kind of integrated formation calls where the other team may call it whatever, but we use our formation calls. We have a whole system that we use, and it integrates seamlessly into our scout team. And so our guys know our formations, our motions, and our plays by running what we see them run on film. So that helps too. That helps develop that depth. That's going to be big for us this year because we're going to have, I think we only have 4 starters back from our state runner-up team from last year, but the other 4 starters that are going to be new this year have gotten a ton of in-game reps and a ton of practice reps against our best, defense or our best offense. So that's how we do it.
Okay. I posted Coach's Twitter. He just got on Twitter, so go ahead and follow him. Let's get his follower count up. He's put out some great stuff on CoachTube about his type of offense, so that's in there. And also the website, which I think is very neat. It's a 8-man academy. It caters to the 8-man football. That is an under categorized or niche, so to speak. No one's really speaking to it. So there you go, right there. Got a question from Lane Ross. I'm guessing he kind of knows you a little bit because he's asking, why does the running back take the handoffs behind the quarterback instead of front?
That's a good question. That sets up our play action game. We can actually do it both ways, but we've actually the last few years we haven't done when we're running it's a sweep play that he's talking about. Our quarterback will line up, maybe running back to his left. Our quarterback turns his back to the defense, facing the running back. The running back goes behind. It does a couple of things. It makes the defense lose sight of the ball for a minute, kind of old single wing or whatever. It gives our backside, we pull our backside guard and our backside tight end if he's attached on that sweep. So it gives them time to get around. And it sets up our waggle back to the backside. So we may fake the sweep to the right, come back with waggle to the left. And again, the defense has lost sight of the ball when it goes, and we teach some pretty intricate hand motions for our quarterback and where his eyes and hands go on the fake and where they go on the actual handoff. So that's why we do that. We can do it in front, we can do it behind. That's all in our sideline to field communication. But yeah, he's right. For the last 2 or 3 years, we've done it. Our sweeps have probably been 95% behind, and that's the reasons. It gives our running back some more depth. I don't know if I said that, but it gives him depth to make cuts, gives our guards and tight ends, the timing is better, and the defense loses sight of the ball for just a second, so they have to respect the waggle out the backside.
What made you go to that?
I don't remember. I steal stuff from people all the time. I'm sure I stole that from somebody.
You're sprinkling in a little single back or a single wing in there?
No,
series?
I've never really run the single wing. I was when I coached 11-man, I wasn't the head coach in Arkansas. I was offensive coordinator. We ran the shotgun wing tee. So maybe I learned it from that. I don't know. That's Lou Johnston, I think was that guy's name. You ever see his videos?
I'm sure I have. I'm
dating myself right there. I think that's pretty old. But yeah, that was. I think we bought some of his videos at that school, and
I know you're talking about. Yeah.
I think maybe he turned his back on the wing tee sweep from the shotgun. I'm not sure.
No, that's fine. Hey, whatever. I like that little tweak, and that. You're right. It freezes people because now the defense doesn't know. Oh crap! Did you hand the ball off, or is the quarterback keeping it and going to the waggle?
Yeah.
Coach Wheeler wants to know, what is your structure for your practices each day? Like, do you have a set structure or?
Yeah, we do, but it's not anything special, Coach. I promise. We start out stretching. Now, Mondays, I put this out I can't remember what site I put it on now, but it'll all be out sooner or later. Mondays, we actually watch film. We don't have any athletics during school, so we watch film.
Okay.
Then we lift weights Monday, and then this is crazy because I'm an offensive guy, but we just practice defense on Monday. So we'll go out and stretch on Monday. We're a big believer in foam rollers. I don't know if people are using foam rollers or not, but I got the book around here somewhere, but it's the new functional training for sports. what is that guy's name? I can't believe I don't. Oh yeah, I got it right. Mike Boyle, Michael Boyle. He's a big foam roller guy. So we start out every day, Monday through Friday, pregame foam rollers. Man, I'm a big believer in that. And then we do some dynamic stretching. Then we do kind of work backwards. Some people go individual, group, team. We do team first on Monday after we've watched the film. We go out there and line up, make sure we can get lined up right. That's number one. And then we'll have them run to the ball, run some of the other team's best plays. And then if we need some work, we'll break it back to group. If we're not doing things right in team, we bring it back to the group setting and we'll go through group stuff. We don't have to do that very often. We haven't had to do that very often because we've had such a veteran team the last couple of years. So that's what we do on Mondays. Tuesday, Wednesday is a big work day for us. We do same thing. We do foam rollers, dynamic stretch. Then we will start with group offense, let our quarterbacks get loose, let our wide receivers and running backs catch a lot of passes while our linemen are shotgun snap. We're 100% shotgun team. I say 100%, 99.9 shotgun
Close
team.
enough.
Yeah. And then we'll go group offense, team offense, and then we'll go switch it over after a little break maybe and do group D and team D from the day before. And again, if our groups are looking good and we're tackling well, coach, we'll do a lot of team and get a lot of reps for a lot of kids. We'll get the ones out there, we'll get the twos out there. And again, I believe that develops the depth. But if we're not doing things right, sometimes especially early in the season, we do it all in August. But even once the season starts, we may break it all the way down to individual if we have individual people that need, improvement on things. But we're trying to keep our practices moving. We're extreme tempo on Friday nights. We want to be extreme tempo Monday through Thursday.
And that ties into you want to be the most conditioned team on the field.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Like, how do you do that? Is it just how you structure practices? Is that what you do in your weight program, in your off season? Like, how do you make sure that your kids are the most conditioned on the field?
We try to make it reps, even in the weight room. Like you said, we don't concern with 1 rep max. We don't do any kind of things like that. I tell them if you can do a 400-pound bench, that's great. That means you can block a 400-pound guy one time. What about the other? Because we're trying to run 85 plays in a game.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we're extreme tempo to the point that, one time the AD called me in, and he's a football guy. Don't get me wrong. He loves football. And he said, is this safe for these kids to be running this many plays?
Thanks a lot, Saban. And
I think it is. Anyway, so yeah, that's exactly right. I'm from Arkansas. I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, he was good with it, and we haven't had, any out of the ordinary injuries or anything like that. But yeah, we want to be in the weight room. How many reps can you get up, using proper form, things like that. And then this functional training that we've been using for a couple of years, they're not, other than just like the bench press, the squat, they're not just sitting around doing things, they're moving around. And we actually move a lot of it out to the field. And we do a lot of ladders and a lot of cones and a lot of bags, and we're moving and we're carrying weights and we're moving the weight from place to place. And the kids love it. And it's really, I say it's armor plated them. I think I stole that from somebody too, but it's kind of giving our kids a extra plate of armor around them. And so that's what we do in the weight room. And then at practice, it's all about reps. We're trying to get reps, and sometimes we'll film our practice session segments.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, I think I shared this when I spoke at a clinic in February, that if you film your game, I don't care how small of a school you are, if you film your game on Friday night, use that same camera to film your practice. Just set it up stationary, run your stuff in front of that, get more reps, go back after practice, look at that film, and then coach off of that film the next day if you need to. And, that's not something we've had to do a lot of, but we can do that. We have some people that, like to be around our program, so they'll come out and film practice for us if we ever ask them to, if we ever need them to. But we don't want to have a big lecture during practice. And as you can tell from this interview, I'm a big talker, so I'm the one that has to stop talking and let the kids play.
You know what you need to do? You need to get those parents that are up in the stands, and instead of bringing them on the field, you need to put them in the press box and be like, film.
They do. That's what I meant. Some of the people that are interested in our program that come and film are our parents. That's another thing that we've done, and that's helped us in the clinic talks as well. We have really good film because we don't let the kids film anymore. It's always adults that do our filming. They take pride in it. They care about it. So we have our sideline cameras are adults, our end zone cameras are adults. And So the film looks better, and we get a lot more out of it when we watch that film.
All right, Coach Wheeler again. He's knocking these questions out. He wants to know what's your play calling communication like. Are y'all wristband? Are you just screaming it out because there's 8-man and like you don't have to really worry about signals? Just call out the play. What do you do?
No, you don't want to call it out. I mean, they're paying attention. I promise. The defenses are paying attention, but we do some. I shouldn't say we do some verbal. We do, again, a lot of signals. We're a signal team. I used to do wristbands, and I think that slows us down, this group, and like I said, we get control of this group by sixth grade at the latest, sometimes as early as third grade.
Goodness.
So we're teaching, and we don't get, I should have brought this up at the beginning. We don't get transfers at our school. People aren't transferring to region to play football. I mean, that just doesn't happen. It's a very academic school. The average ACT score for our seniors is right at 30. So yeah, these guys in this picture back here are 2 out of the last 4 years state academic champions, not just state finalists on the field the last 2 years, but 2 of the last 4 state academic champions. So they're very smart. So we start them early in this, and that's our signals. They know him. The guy that's going to play quarterback for us this year, I'm telling you, Coach, he knows the offense as well as I know it. He stood by me the last couple of years as he's waited his turn to be the starter, and when we're on offense, I can tell you he knows what plays to get us in, and it kind of just gets to where just kind of a head nod does it. We've been together so long.
That's nice.
So it's really good communication, but we're a hand signal team to answer that question.
Okay. Have you had okay, so let me backtrack. A lot of coaches reach out to me and say, "Hey, I want to go tempo, but we're a small team. I don't know how to do that." Obviously, you're a small team because you're 8-man. Have there been objections about going so fast? And if so, how do you counter those objections? Are you just like, shut up, this is my team and this is what we're going to do?
Now, you meaning from like parents in our
Parents, other coaches on staff and everything like that?
No, that's another thing. Our parents, they really don't know anything different. Okay.
That's nice.
And a lot of them that, the coaches, they know what we're going to do now. The biggest thing is not our up tempo is what people know for, but we're no punt. I mean, we hadn't punted in 7 years, and I learned that from Coach Kelly. I don't know if you know Kevin Kelly.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. I know Coach
I call
Kelly.
him Big Gun Kelly because his arms are like freaking massive now. I don't know.
Exactly.
Taking steroids or something, doing nothing but
I've
curls.
seen him work out. I've seen him work out in that. I used to hang out with him. I met him at a clinic, and he was very good to me. He's one of the reasons that I want to share with other people, but he does it. So anyway, so I sat there when he was at a Tulsa clinic probably 9 years ago with my first year at Regent. We were still 11-man, and we needed something to be different to get kids out to play. And that's one of the things that we did. And it's just who we are now. It's part of our philosophy now.
Nice.
We don't have to convince anybody. If we tried to punt, there would be a sideline revolt. There really would be. The kids would not do it. We don't practice it. We wouldn't know how to do it. First of all, we don't practice that. We think that's kind of a psychological thing, kind of like our onside kicks, which again, we learned that.
You also do? Look at you. Nice.
We do the onside kicks. We do the no punt. I have to say this last year in a playoff game, it was a semifinal game, we converted a 4th and 33 and a 4th and 25.
Oh, that had to piss that coach off so bad.
Yeah, so that was something that was special for us. But it's, we're way over 50% on our 4th down conversions, and anytime, and I know I learned this stat from Coach Kelly, and I've checked him out on it through our game being at a smaller school. It's definitely true. Anytime we recovered 2 or more onside kicks in a game, we've never lost.
Wow.
That's been good to us, and that's just a couple of little psychological advantages. But yeah, we're big on psychology.
So you have even though first generation football players, they kind of hurt you a little bit because they don't know anything, but their parents don't know anything. So you can kind of be an out of the box thinker, and they think you're just being normal.
Yeah, I went to our head of school when I first met Coach Kelly and got all the notes, and actually the athletic director at the time, he went with me to the clinic, and we took very detailed notes from what Coach Kelly had said. And I actually saw our head of school at a volleyball game, and I sat with him, and I said, "You're going to hear some weird things about your football coach from, football people." And he said he was not a football guy, and he didn't mind. He said, "As long as you've got the stats to back you up, I want you to go for it." So he got behind it. So I knew when the head of school was behind me and the AD was behind me, we had no problems then.
That's crazy. I also find it crazy that you have to have those two behind you just to run your offense or team. I don't know. And I'm not.
If you have people, coach, that have been around football
I
forever,
know. I know.
it's like talking, I don't know,
It,
talking dirty, I guess.
yeah. I don't know. All right. I agree with Jeff on this one. He says, I want to know what those concepts were to pick up those fourth downs. Was it like a trick play or was it like a
No,
normal play?
no, it was on one of them. It was max protect, which in 8-man is 5 guys, and it consisted of a formation that we hadn't run basically the whole season, where we got out in an empty look and we shifted a couple of them down to tight end, and they were concerned about covering the tight ends, which weren't even going out, and they let I'll be honest with you, coach. They let our guy that we had a D1 receiver this past year. Sorry, he got past him and scored. But now the other one, that was the 4th and 25. The 4th and 33, we used our best receiver as a decoy, and they doubled him, and we sent a backup receiver actually in the game, and he was in the slot and he ran down the middle, and I guess they hadn't seen us throw to him very much, so he was wide open down the middle.
Well, I'm not going to be mad at you throwing it to D1 wide receiver. I'd do it too, and I would not leave him one-on-one.
No, he was. I don't know. He's a really good player. It's number 81 right here. And I can't point at him, but he's right there. He's going to North Dakota. Great kid.
Oh wow, I hear you, man. As a wide receiver.
Yes, he'll be playing wide receiver for North Dakota in the fall.
Okay, have fun watching them run power over and over again.
That's North Dakota State, coach. You're talking about.
Okay.
State.
There we go.
He's
Thank
going
you.
to North Dakota.
All right. Coach Wheeler says that he's asking all these questions because he is looking at being an AD for a small 8-man school, and he's trying to get that learning curve down.
You bet.
All right. Go ahead.
No, what was he going to say about it? I don't know.
He just wanted to know, have officials ever tried to slow your team down?
Absolutely, coach. They will throw flags to slow you down. The other team, will fall down and act hurt and be back in the next play. Just like you see in college, the fans boo, and you don't really want to boo because you don't know if it's hurt or not. Yeah, that's happened to us. Again, though, we haven't had, I hope that I know of, we haven't had any problems with our opponents. And again, the state of Oklahoma, I'm just going to brag on them. I brag on them at every clinic I talk at. The 8-man association in Oklahoma is a tight-knit group of men, and I am honored to be a part of it. So I know a lot of these coaches that we're coaching against. We go up in every June and stay at Northeastern Oklahoma. They host our Northeast Oklahoma University there in Miami, Oklahoma. They host our All-Star 8-man All-Star Week, and the coaches are there together for a week. And I may not know it. I don't know it all about the relationships, but I've never had a problem with another coach or anything like that. And I get to know them, and some of my proudest moments are getting to know the players during that week that we've played against during the season. And I've got some pictures from after the All-Star games of kids that, they had beat us actually in the state finals, and then they were on the other All-Star team. And I was, just trying my best to get to know them all week. And at the end of the game, they wanted to take a picture. And I said, that was one of the high points of my, career right there, was really, because we're supposed to be enemies or whatever, and playing in the state finals 2 years in a row against the same team and losing both games. That's probably why they like us, because they beat us. But anyway, no, they're good kids. And the coaching community, like I said, an 8-man in Oklahoma, it's a great group.
Yeah. I found that football coaches kind of are, they're not that many bad apples. There are a few, but not that many. They're kind of close knit. And then with the attack on football, with the concussions, everything, it's like everyone's like, okay, let's circle the wagons. Right. If we have any disputes, we'll do it through text messages. We won't do it out in the public. Kind of like in your coach's office. We can disagree in coach's office, but when we get out in the public, we're all on the same page. I find that coaches are the same way like that now.
And I love that about coaching, because that's what I want to do. That's why I'm on here with you tonight, Coach. I want to share every chance I get to share, because people like Coach Kelly and others have been so giving of their time to me and answered all my questions, which are vast. And so I want to be able to do that. I want to turn around and, be able to help anybody that needs help. And there's a lot of guys. We talked about this a little bit. There's a lot of teams moving from 11 to 8-man right now, and it's new and it's kind of scary to these coaches, So I'm here to help those guys out as much as I can, and I'm not the only one. There's a lot of guys that are willing to help.
Okay. Now I have to agree. I have to ask this because also I want to know as well. What's your favorite offensive concept, like pass?
Yeah. Oh, coach, we like to throw it down the field every chance we get. We're throwing it deep, man.
So 4 verts.
You call it verts, call it 6, call it whatever.
Nice.
We're throwing it down the field every chance we get, coach. If you come down and we think you're too close, we are throwing it deep. So yeah, let's just keep it simple.
There you go. That's easy.
We
Do you give your
that a lot? We do practice throwing it deep a lot, and maybe people think we're crazy for that, but it works. I mean, it really does.
Do you give them the ability to make adjustments on their routes?
Oh yeah.
So what kind of adjustments do you give them?
If they're a lot of times it's leverage. If the defender is playing them inside off the ball, we'll run an outside release, and we teach them not to fade out with that release. We want them to get back on their line as quickly as they can. But we also do something, and I don't know, coach, I'm not a master football coach, I promise. I don't know if other teams do this or not, but we teach our receivers pretty much any deep route you're running, on your third step, you're going to glance at the quarterback. You're glancing back at him. Especially, I think that's vital in 8-man, because he could get a quick rush. We could miss a block and he's all of a sudden running around. So if he sees that quarterback having to, flush out before we're ready, or if we've got to scramble, maybe if we've got to roll, left, and all of a sudden he's scrambling right, we've got to adjust our routes on the fly. So we get our head around on every deep route on the third step. And it's not stare at the quarterback and get clocked or whatever. You're glancing in, seeing where the quarterback is, and then adjusting your route to where he is. And another thing we do is we get eye contact, receivers to quarterbacks. I think the throwing, and everybody can disagree with me. It's okay. You do it the way it works for you. We do it the way it works for us. But getting, running routes on the break and throwing out of breaks and stuff like that, that looks real good in practice but when the real bullets are flying on Friday night, that's hard to do. It's really hard to get guys, coming right out of a break at a certain spot. Well, what if somebody's standing in that certain spot? What do you do then? So we don't throw, I think in our whole playbook, we may have one route that we throw on a break, maybe 2 that we throw on a break, and they're not traditional throwing on a break. It's because something didn't go right. We had to break. But yeah, so we're eye contact team. We're going to get eye contact between the quarterback and the receivers before we throw it. And that sounds like it would give it away, but I actually learned that. I think I heard Coach Kelly talk about that too, but that's also in Leach's book, Swing Your Sword. He talks about that. And the completion percentage goes up. Our kid and NFHS, I'm not mad at them, but they have not updated the record book. But our kid, 2016, I think it was, set the national NFHS record for completion percentage in a season. He had a higher completion percentage than Tim Couch did, who, if you look at NFHS, he's number 1. And I've sent in all the film, and they haven't put our kid in there. So maybe 8-man's not eligible for that award, but they.
How do you practice that? I'm curious about that, because I have heard Coach Kelly talk about that. That's kind of like his secret sauce now, that he only tells a couple of people on like secret Zoom meetings that he DMs on Twitter.
I'm sorry, Coach. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to tell that.
It's out there now. It's out there now. Everybody's going to be pestering you.
I've never had a Zoom meeting with Coach Kelly. That'd be awesome, though. But anyway, no, actually, he said that at an open clinic. I'm pretty sure that he said that because he asked who in the room does that. And I didn't want to be like the suck up or whatever, but I just kind of raised my hands, and I was the only one. I looked around. But then again, I saw that in Leach's book too. And Leach accredited it to the high completion percentage in his air raid when he was at Texas Tech. And, but we do that. It's just a lot of practice, and it's more the receiver having his eyes on the quarterback than the quarterback, because the quarterback can't stare it down.
Yeah.
Quarterback scanning, he's reading, and then it's last second deal, he's throwing it. So it's really on the receiver to have their head on the quarterback.
All right. Is that only for verts, or is that for every single passing concept that you have? Your wide receivers are just staring at the quarterback.
I'm a terrible coach. We've had such veteran receivers the last couple of years. I haven't had to do much in-depth coaching. Let me think about that for a second. I think it's on pretty much everything we do. We're big on running hitches, and again, that's not a timing route for us. I say it's not a timing route. It's not we're going to go 6 back to 5 or something. We don't do that because it's going to take, you can see my team behind me. Some of them are 6'5", some of them are 5'6". It's going to take them different times to get to 6 yards. So that's what I mean by not timing. What we teach, and again, whoever I stole this from, I'm sorry, but we just speed count in our head to 10. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. On 10, you step on that outside foot. So if you're on the left side of the ball running a hitch, you step down on that outside foot on 10 and you bring it back to the quarterback hard. Early in the season, early in the preseason, if we're practicing hitches and we've got 3 quarterbacks throwing a 3 line of receivers, I would tell the quarterbacks not to throw it until they're coming back down at you. If they just turn around and stand there, we just kind of all stare at them and say, "What are you doing?" We don't do that, And again, our guys, we've had older guys this year. We're going to have a lot of freshmen on the team, and they know it too from junior high days. But we've got some first-year football players that aren't necessarily freshmen, so we'll have to teach them, that. But that's probably our most used play is just a hitch route.
All right, I've got 2 questions. One, how on 8-man football do you have 3 quarterbacks that can do that? Because on mine in 4A, I only have 1 the whole time, so that's crazy. And 2, what happens when one kid is counting faster to 10 than another kid? Does that throw the timing off at all?
No.
Or
If you just have a speed race to 10, they're going to finish pretty much around the same time. If you tell them just to count as fast as they can in their head to 10, everybody's going to finish pretty close. But the 3 quarterback thing, that comes from playground coach, and we have some games to develop quarterbacks. I'm a weird person, but I teach our 6th grade PE class. Just that we have boys in a PE class and girls. I do the boys. So by 6th grade, the whole first third of the year, and the boys, we're playing touch football, and I make them pass it every down. And I'm looking and seeing who the quarterbacks are in 6th grade. And usually I already know by the time they get in 6th grade, because our 1st through 5th grade plays flag in flag leagues around Tulsa. And I go sit there in my lawn chair and watch our flag teams play. And if I catch them out on the playground, I sit there and watch them on the playground. And if I see a kid flinging it, I go ask him what his name is, and I find out who his parents are, and we get to be friends.
That's
so
smart.
We identify them very, very early. Coach, I had this conversation with a guy a couple of weeks ago about quarterback training. By the time ours get to 9th grade, they're pretty much as trained as they're going to be. It's just about reps then and some detail work with some quarterback coaches that we use. But if we're having to train them at 9th and 10th grade, in my mind, it's a little bit late then. So we identify ours early.
I like that. All right, so we've got some more questions. One, Coach Ross wants to know, what's your best counter to zero blitz? Like when you see teams that are blitzing, what's the first play you're dialing up?
If they're really cover zero, then we're throwing it over their head.
Easy enough.
2 years ago in the state semifinals, the other team they downed a punt on us at the 3-yard line, and I think we ran a quarterback up the middle first play and got a yard, and the next play they came down to 0 and we 96-yard touchdown. And it was
YOLO.
Yeah, it wasn't even a consideration. It was one of those things where we're looking and we're saying, are they really in cover 0? And the deepest defender they have is 4 yards from the line of scrimmage. So nobody even had to look at the sideline on that play. We knew what we were running. And the quarterback just kind of looked at everybody and gave them the get out of town signal, and they took off. And he already had pre-snap. He knew which defensive back we wanted to throw at, and he threw that. So we scored on that one. And actually in that game, I think 4 of our first 7 or 8, maybe 3 of our first 7 offensive plays, they went 0 and we scored on them. So we're throwing it over your head. And like I said, that comes from a lot of reps. It does. But another thing, if they're going to bring a heavy inside blitz and not press cover us, we're going to throw it out on bubbles and tunnels a lot. And I don't know if everybody calls it the same thing. Our tunnel is not a big, long developing tunnel screen. It's more maybe what people call a now or whatever.
Okay.
Where you just turn around and face the quarterback and get the ball.
Okay.
If they're bringing heavy blitzes, we do, and we don't get sacked very often. We're not the most, pass blocking. We're not the best at that, but we know how to get the ball away from the center really fast.
Nice. All right. The next question is by Coach Dan, because I'm not going to be able, I'm a butcher his last name if I say that. If you're a 2x2, how do you stop a 4-man rush when they're trying to make your quarterback roll out to his weak side and they are press coverage? That is a very specific question. So I'm guessing that's happened to him before. So
first thing we would do, so if we're 2x2 and they're 4-0 coming at us, the first thing we're going to know is which defensive line, which of the 4-0, which of those four is the slowest. We're going to not block the slowest one. We have rules for that. If it's the left end, the right end, the left tackle, the right tackle, we've got a call for that. And although we try to operate, I don't know if I said this earlier in the signals, we try to operate our offense in complete silence. I stole that off the internet too. The cadence is a wake-up call to the defense or whatever. And sure enough, we'll catch guys staring at the sideline and we're snapping the ball because we don't have a downset HUD or we don't clap and stuff like that. We just
hold on. You cannot go just like graze over that.
I got to answer the guy's question. I'll come back to that.
Okay, let's circle back to that.
Okay, so if they're going to bring 4, we know which one's the slowest, and we're not blocking him. That may be the one time where our quarterback just, and maybe he will think it's smart aleck or whatever, but he may say, don't block 99. If 99 can't run 5 yards in 5 minutes, we're not going to block him. So now we've got the other 3 blocked, and our quarterback knows he can outrun the one guy. And again, if they're pressing us on the edges, we work on release. We hope people play cover 0 press coverage against us because we work on releases. We're getting off, whatever we got to do. And we're getting open deep quick. And we're throwing it deep quick. We'll throw the vertical, catch and throw. You know what I mean? So we'll do that. But we have all those guys that what it comes down to, the coach that asked that, when they're bringing 4 blitzers against 3 blockers, our quarterback knows which one is coming free before the snap. And he's going to be rolling away from that.
Okay. All right. Let's hit that circle now. The no cadence snap.
Yes.
Please forgive me. What in the hell? How does that happen?
So this is way back again. I don't remember the guy's name on the internet. I have the article printed out from my ancient files, but the speed of light moves faster than the speed of sound. I guess that's the theory behind it. And so our guys are trained to keep an inside eye on the ball. Our center will look between his legs. The quarterback will give some kind of a, something like this or whatever. And when our center looks up, at any time after the quarterback gives him that, the center looks up, the snap could be right then, it could be later. And we've had some really wily veteran centers who realize the defense is coming on their head raise. So they're going to raise that head and pause. And it's amazing how many teams jump off sides when we're not calling cadence, and we don't. And last year we had a small disagreement, like you talked about, having disagreements in practice about, were we going to clap or we're not going to clap on our motion plays? And I said, no, we're not going to clap.
That was going to be my next question.
Motion plays. When they're coming in motion, the center then has to snap it immediately on the quarterback's flashing of the hands. And people say, well, can't they get that? Well, no, because if we know we're running motion one time and giving it on the flash of the hands, the next week, the first time we run motion, we're going to fake it to that guy and go a completely different way. We're very aware that teams are trying to pick up on when the ball's being snapped. They're trying to go off the center's head movement. They're trying to go off the quarterback's hand movement. So we do not allow any repetition in that from our center, so they won't be the center for very long. And we've had some good centers recently that they understand that coming up and they think about it. I think they dream about it at night, and it helps.
That is okay. So then you're trying to play fast, but you're giving the center the ability to snap it if it's not motion on the quarterback's hands. So do you get mad if the center takes maybe 3 seconds?
Yes, I do. If they're not jumping off sides, I do.
Okay.
If they're not putting any pressure on us to begin with, there's no reason to change his rhythm. But yeah, if they're getting some pressure to us and he knows he can look up and get it, but they know now the centers are almost as in the system as long as the quarterbacks, but they know now if they don't jump off, on a certain deal, it's time to get it snapped. But yeah, if we ever have one that kind of freezes, he'll hear it from me about snap the ball, snap the ball, snap the ball. And we've been known to just change centers in the middle of drives too.
Okay. That tickles my brain right there. I'm gonna have to think about that. That's a good one. Coach Wheeler wants to know, do you have your quarterbacks roll out like a half roll, run and shoot style stuff, or is it just straight up sprint out?
Both. Yeah, we do sprint out on kind of shorter game stuff, and we do roll on maybe a little deeper. That's so we do both to answer his question. But I'm going to give away this. I tell this at all the clinics I go to too. If we have time at the end of the clinic, I'll say I'm going to tell you about the best play in 8-man football, and I'll tell it to you now because it has to do with the rollout. It has to do with the sprint out, but it's a quarterback roll. It's not it can be either way, really. It could be a full sprint if he thinks he's got the edge. It can be a roll if he doesn't have the edge. But we'll put two to one side, two receivers to one side, one receiver to the back side, and a running back to the two receiver side who's lined up right beside the quarterback. That running back is the personal protector of the quarterback. So basically, it's a quarterback sweep. We don't turn our back on the quarterback sweep like we were talking about earlier. So the quarterback's going to follow that running back wide like a sweep. We're pulling the backside guard, and we're running number two on a quick out. We're running number one on a go. He's actually going to kind of fake block and go kind of deal. And it turns into a perimeter RPO. And it has been a devastating play when you have a quarterback they have to respect him for the run, which is most of our quarterbacks. Then that corner, especially, I was sending film to a guy last night that you could just see the corner in conflict. He takes one step down and realizes the quarterback's coming at him from the backfield, but the guy in front of him is running a route deep past him. What do I do? And so he takes one step down. Our quarterback has it down here, carrying it like a sweep. And all of a sudden, on the run, he raises up and throws it. And it's a devastating perimeter RPO for 8-man football.
I like that. That is very nice. That's almost like the Auburn play where they got Alabama that
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, we stole that a long time ago. I'm obviously from Arkansas. I've known of Coach Malzahn since this is way back. This is when he was at Hughes. Nobody knows about him being at Hughes High School, but I knew him back then or knew of him. I didn't know him personally, but I knew of him coaching at Hughes and then Shiloh and some of that. So I've been a big fan of his since those days.
That is awesome. Well, Coach, I appreciate you being here.
Sorry, Coach. Hang off of that. I'm sorry, Coach. That same play, you can run a post with the backside single receiver, and that adds even more pressure to everybody. Okay, sorry.
No, heck no, man. We need to get you back on here next time and break down with like some film and stuff like that because I am intrigued.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I know you're a busy man, and I'm not that busy right now with quarantine or whatever.
Yeah, the coronacation. That's what I call it.
Right. So you let me know, and I've got plenty of film, and I love to talk football and whatever. That'll be great.
Heck yeah, man. And also, coaches, hey, his stuff, his Twitter, let's get his followers up. You can tell someone a coach jumps on because we are not the most creative when it comes to our Twitter names. It's always our first name or last name. And if someone takes it, it's our birthday. He also has some great stuff on CoachTube if you want to dive even deeper in this. And then also his 8-man, or he's helping out an 8-man website if you want to know more about it. Thank y'all for being here. Coach Bishop, thank you so much for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach. And thank you for what you're doing for football.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right. And coaches, hey, until next time, let's continue to mash the spread, score points, and have fun.